Okay. So 9.4, I have said I'm going to click on it. So 9.4, blood vessels. Blood vessels, basically, we are talking about among the characteristics of a good circulatory system. In previous lessons, we said good circulatory system must have blood vessels for transportation of the respiratory fluid. I mean, the circulatory fluid. It must have a pumping organ, which we call the heart. Circulatory system must have circulatory fluid, which is blood and the lymph. So today we want to see one of the characteristics of the circulatory system, which we call the blood vessels. Blood vessels. So blood vessels are very important in transportation of materials. So we want to see what we need to know. By the end of this learning or tutorial, everyone should be able to identify the important blood vessels, should be able to understand the arteries, veins, and capillaries, to understand how blood vessels are adapted to their functions, and to understand arterioles, venules, and shunt vessels. Those are the branches from the main blood vessels to the to the different small vessels that channel into body tissues. So, what are the important blood vessels that we know? Most organs, as we are aware, we have the heart. The blood vessels which carry blood towards that heart are known as the vena cava and the pulmonary vein. A pulmonary vein and vena cava carry blood towards the heart. And then which blood vessel drains blood away from the heart? That is the aorta, the pulmonary artery. Those two carry blood. So these are the big blood vessels that supply the heart and drain away from the heart. I have the lungs. The lungs, that is the pulmonary. So the lungs are the pulmonary system. I have the lungs. So lungs are supplied by an artery known as pulmonary artery, which is the biggest artery that carries the oxygenated blood to the lungs from the heart. It's located on the right-hand part of the heart, from the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery leading to the lungs for the oxygenated blood to pick oxygen. Then the other one that drains oxygenated blood from the lungs to the left-hand part of the heart, which is the left atrium. The left atrium. It's known as the pulmonary vein. And this marks the pulmonary vein as being the only vein that carries oxygenated blood to the carries oxygenated blood in the body. So arteries carry blood away from the heart. That's why the oxygenated blood moving away from the heart to go to the lungs to pick oxygen is carried by the pulmonary artery. Veins carry blood towards the heart, and that's why pulmonary vein carries oxygenated blood from the heart, from the lungs to the left atrium of the heart. Then we have the kidneys. Kidneys are the bean-like structures below the abdomen, responsible for filtering urea out of blood or purification of blood. So the kidney is supplied by the renal artery, and it is drained. The oxygenated blood from the kidneys is drained by the renal vein. So, having seen some of the most important parts, then we have also the intestines. We have the mesenteric artery carries blood towards the intestines, that is the small intestines, the large intestines, mesenteric artery, and away from the those is known as the mesenteric veins. So mesenteries supply blood to the heart. Yes. So we also have another part of the heart itself. It has the cardiac sorry, we'll get to that when we proceed. So if you look at the main blood vessels of the body, we have blood is carried from the heart and towards the organs in arteries, and these narrow to arterioles, then capillaries as they bypass through the organ. Then the capillaries are widened to venules, and finally veins, and they move away from the organ. So veins carry blood back towards the heart. So this is what you should know. What connects arteries to veins or to capillaries? So an artery brings blood from the biggest, or maybe from the heart. An artery itself is so big to enter into every tissue or organ. So an artery divides into a subdivision known as the arteriole. Arteriole. As you see the word here, arteriole. So the arteriole narrows down to the capillaries. So capillaries are the ones which go and dig into blood tissues and cells, body tissues and cells. And it's through capillaries that materials, the heart, blood has been transporting to that organ, will diffuse out of the capillaries. Then after diffusing out, some components which the body tissues in that area have produced as byproducts, they will be diffusing into this capillary. Then they will not go back to the arteriole, then to the artery. No. The work continues to push towards, now the capillaries, the other end. For example, at the ends from this way, if I have capillaries here, these ends, they will join a branch from a main vein known as the venule. So a venule is bigger than the capillary, smaller than the vein. So the venule will connect straight to the main vein, and then the main vein will send blood away from that organ back to the heart. So arteries subdivided into arterioles. Arterioles continue to divide into capillaries. Then capillaries on the other end divide and now start to widen into venules. Then venules into veins, which veins will carry blood back to the heart again. So that's what happens. That's how our system works. So with this system of a closed circulatory system, blood does not ooze out of the system. It is confined to flow through blood capillaries throughout its circuit. For example, I want us to look at the main blood vessels and what they do. For example, I've talked about the pulmonary vein, which brings oxygenated blood from the lungs into the left atrium. From the left atrium, blood flows down into the ventricle. That's the left ventricle. Because the left ventricle is thick, it has walls which are thick. It pumps blood with a lot of pressure, enough to force this blood out of the heart via the aorta, which is the biggest artery, the aorta. Then the aorta has sub-branches. As blood flows through the aorta and is going to the liver, then the liver has what we call the hepatic artery. hepatic artery. This is the one that branches from the main artery to the liver. So hepatic artery sends oxygenated blood to the liver. Then the liver, hepatic artery subdivided into a smaller hepatic arteriole, which later divides into the capillaries, which serve every part of the liver, the hepatocytes, and then from that, the other side is to the venule. Now, the venule connects to the hepatic vein. So when you see the word hepatic, just know we are supplying the liver. Hepatic artery supplies oxygenated blood to the liver. Hepatic vein drains deoxygenated blood from the liver. Now you will see that the liver is divided, is supplied by three blood vessels. This, which we call the hepatic artery, this, which I've called the hepatic vein, that takes away the oxygenated blood from this liver to join the vena cava. Then down here, from the digestive systems, which you call the mesenteries, or we call them the gut. Those are small intestines. So the intestines, there is a blood vessel coming from this intestine here and is going up. There is also another one that is coming this way. So there is a trick here. When we digest food, most food contains some excess materials which need to be regulated. And the only regulator of materials in our body that we have eaten is Mr. Liver. So what happens? Every food, after it has been digested and absorbed by the bloodstream, it will not continue to either the artery or vein. No. It will pass via a blood vessel called the hepatic portal vein. Hepatic portal vein, as you see, it's a portal. It's like a pathway leading to the liver. That's why it's called hepatic. So all the food we've eaten with a lot of glucose, amino acids, a lot of vitamins, a lot of wort, is going to first of all go to the liver via the hepatic portal vein. Then the liver deaminates, regulates glucose and the rest of the things which the liver does, assimilates and all that stuff. So that marks the third blood vessel supplying the liver. Hepatic portal vein picks digested food from the gut and then sends it to the liver before it goes to the blood system. Then the liver removes whatever it wants to remove, and then later it makes it join the blood vessels and then flows to wherever it wants to flow. So that's the third blood vessel that connects to the liver. So from that, there is also blood as mesenteries themselves. The intestines are also referred to as mesenteries. Mesenteries themselves need a supply. They need a supply of blood by themselves because they are cells. So the mesenteric artery supplies blood to this gut. Then some of whatever that enters here will now go to the liver. So mesenteric artery, that's what it does. Now, having left that, we come to another joining part of the, as you can see, I said aorta is the biggest artery. We come to what we call the kidneys. So the kidneys are supplied by the renal artery. Renal arteries supply the kidneys. Then renal veins remove the oxygenated blood from the kidneys. So it's here that all components of blood that all substances that are in blood which need to be removed from the body via urine will come to the kidneys. Then the kidneys are also subdivided into small, what we call the afferent vessels, and efferent vessel in there in every kidney that supply nephrons. That is chapter 13. Then other organs, we have the legs and the rest. So what we know, blood is carried away from the heart. That's one difference between arteries and veins. Blood is carried away from the heart by arteries towards every organ. So organs are supplied by arteries and are drained by veins. And then veins transport blood back to the heart. Arteries transport blood away from the heart. Another key part to note that arteries are subdivided into arterioles, which arterioles now subdivide into capillaries, which capillaries supply enter deep in every cell irrespective of its location, where materials are exchanged, and after exchanging all these materials, then blood can move in, material can move in and out. Then blood can continue to the venules to the main veins, and then back to the heart. So that is proceeding now with the next slide. We can see the importances of arteries and veins. So what do arteries do? We want to make a comparison. You can even draw a T-table. I'm going to make different functions, different comparisons between arteries and veins. Among the different comparisons, we have what we have functional differences and structural differences. So, arteries, one of the functional difference, we say, arteries carry blood at high pressure away from the heart, whereas veins carry blood at low pressure towards the heart. Arteries drain the heart. Veins serve the heart. Number 2, functional. Arteries carry oxygenated blood apart from pulmonary artery. We say all veins carry deoxygenated blood apart from pulmonary vein. Why do we say apart? Previously, I've just mentioned and explained, I say that on the left-hand part of the heart, where the oxygenated blood is, the oxygenated blood moves out of the heart via the right ventricles to the lungs to pick oxygen. So the blood vessel carrying blood away from the heart, towards the lungs, and it's deoxygenated. It's what we call pulmonary artery. Why? Because all arteries carry blood away. By bad luck, this blood vessel happens to carry deoxygenated blood because it wants to get away from the heart to go to the lungs and pick oxygen. That's why we say all arteries carry oxygenated blood apart from pulmonary artery. The same one with veins. All veins carry blood back to the heart. Now we happen to have oxygenated blood from the lungs, which needs to be brought back to the heart to be pumped to the rest of the body parts. So the only vein that is available to do that back to the heart is the pulmonary vein. So that's why we say all veins carry deoxygenated blood apart from pulmonary vein. Those are two different functional properties. Number 3, now this is the structure. Arteries have thick muscular walls containing elastic fibers. Arteries have thick, that means it has the thickness, it's huge, like the muscles are more stronger, have thick muscular walls containing elastic fibers. It's thick but elastic, meaning that it can withstand any pressure in, any pressure out, any pressure in, any pressure out without tearing. Unlike veins that have thin walls and inelastic. The elasticity is there, but not so much. Now, when we come to veins, arteries have a narrow lumen. For example, let me use this. Now, let me just talk structure. From here to this side, that is the thickness of an artery. You can look at this thickness from the middle part here to this, and look at the thickness from this to this. So this thickness is thick and elastic. That means it is elastic. This is thin membrane. So when you look into the middle, arteries have a small lumen, and here they have a wider lumen. Veins have a wider lumen. A lumen is the space between arteries, that's where blood is sent or is transported or moves through. So this has a thick lumen, this has a thin lumen. Thick, thin, thick, thin. So this is elastic, thick, thin. And elastic, a smaller lumen, large lumen. Small lumen, large lumen. Then we can also talk about the speed. Arteries contain valves. It's unfortunate that, arteries lack valves, but if you find a vein, this one is not well drawn, I would have showed you. They have valves in between here to stop the backflow of blood. Since these carry blood at low pressure and these carry blood at high pressure, and they are able to maintain that pressure because of this thickness. So one of the questions we ask, explain the adaptation of arteries to their function. We shall say that one we are interested in structure-related function. Arteries have a thick, elastic lumen to withstand and maintain the pressure with which blood is pumped. They have a thick and elastic lumen to membrane or whatever, thick and elastic, elastic layer to withstand and maintain the pressure with which blood is pumped until it reaches its journey. Then number 2, they have a thin lumen to maintain the pressure. Whatever that is happening here is to maintain the pressure with which blood is pumped. Remember, arteries carry blood with a high pressure, and the only way they can handle this pressure is through its being elastic and thick to withstand so that it doesn't tear, and also to maintain that same pressure with which the arteries are sent. So when we come to capillaries, remember, for them they are very small and minute. They are found in all tissues. So for them, they have a larger lumen, a thin membrane. So the endometrium, which you call the endothelium, that's the membrane between, is so thin that materials can diffuse in, and out. Materials can diffuse in and out of them. So capillaries carry blood at low pressure within tissues. They carry both oxygenated and deoxygenated blood. They have walls that are 1 cell thick, and they also have leaky walls. Speed of flow is so slow. So this is how we can discuss the arteries. You can always pause the video and then you do the rating. How blood vessels are adapted to their functions. This is the last part I'm talking about. I've incorporated it in the explanation before. Arteries have thick muscular walls containing elastic fibers to withstand high blood pressure and maintain the blood pressure as it recoils after the blood has passed through them. They have a narrow lumen to maintain high pressure. So with veins, they have lumen as blood pressure is low. That's the lumen is large. Contain valves to prevent the backflow of blood as it is under low pressure. Capillaries have walls that are 1 cell thick so that substances can easily diffuse through, in and out of them. Have leaky walls so that the blood plasma can leak out and form tissue fluid surrounding the cells. So we have what we call the shunt vessels or shunt vessels. Arterioles, venules, shunt vessels. Now listen to this. As arterioles divide more, as they get further away from the heart, they get narrower. The narrow vessels that connect arteries to capillaries are called arterioles. I mentioned that already. Veins also get narrower the further away they are from the heart. The narrow vessels that connect capillaries to veins are called venules. That's the previous explanation. What we call shunt vessels. Sometimes the cardiovascular system needs to redistribute the blood to specific areas of the body. For example, during exercise, more of it goes to the working muscles and less of it goes to the other body organs such as the digestive system. When we are hot, more blood flows through the surface of the skin, and when we are cold, less blood flows through the surface of the skin. This redirection of blood flow is caused by the use of a vascular shunt vessel. The shunt vessels can open or close to control the amount of blood flowing to a specific area. Shunt vessels. When we are hot, more blood flows through the surface of the skin. And when we are cold, less blood flows through the surface of the skin. The redirection of blood flow is caused by the use of a vascular shunt vessel. The shunt vessels can open or close to control the amount of blood flowing to a specific area. For example, what are the 3 types of blood vessels that we have? That's now the simple question. I have this thick-walled blood vessel, thick walls to withstand pressure and small lumen. I talked about valves previously. All veins have have valves to prevent the backflow. Valves are the small shutters that are found in a blood vessel to prevent blood from coming back from where it's been coming from. So, when you look at this blood vessel, it's an artery. From here to here, it's an artery. As it goes far, it becomes an arteriole. Then from the arterial part, it now breaks down into capillaries. Then it's out of these materials can diffuse out, in and out, in and out. And after that, the oxygenated blood will join from the venule, from arteriole, capillaries, venule. As we go, we get a vein, a bigger vein. And this marks the end of this lesson for today. Thank you so much. You can subscribe, pause the video, and write notes.